Committee study of the Central Intelligence Agency's Detention and Interrogation Program is a report compiled by the bipartisan United States Senate Select Committee on Intelligence about the Central Intelligence Agency's Detention and Interrogation Program and its use of torture during interrogation in U.S. government facilities on detainees in CIA custody. More than 6,700-page report, including 38,000 footnotes, details the history of the CIA's detention and interrogation program and the committee's 20 findings and conclusions. On December 8th, 2014, the SSCI released a 525-page portion that consisted of key findings and an executive summary of the full report. It took more than 5 years to complete. The full unredacted report remains classified. Today's summary: CIA destruction of interrogation videotapes leads to committee investigation. The committee's scrutiny of the CIA's detention and interrogation program continued through the remainder of 2008 and into the 111th Congress in 2009. On February 11, 2009, the committee held a business meeting at which committee staff presented a memorandum on the content of the CIA operational cables detailing the interrogations of Abu Zubaydah and Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri in 2002. CIA Director Hayden had allowed a small number of committee staff to review the cables at CIA headquarters and, as noted, had testified that the cables provided a more than adequate representation of what was on the destroyed CIA interrogation videotapes. The chairman stated that the committee staff memorandum represented the most comprehensive statement on the treatment of these two detainees, from the conditions of their detention and the nature of their interrogations to the intelligence produced and the thoughts of CIA officers and contractors in the field and headquarters. After the staff presentation, the vice chairman expressed his support for an expanded committee investigation, stating, "We need to compare what was briefed to us by the agency with what we found out, and we need to determine whether it was within the guidelines of the Office of Legal Counsel and the guidelines published by the agency." Other members of the committee added their support for an expanded investigation, with one member stating, "These are extraordinarily serious matters, and we ought to get to the bottom of it. To look at how it came to be, and these techniques were used, with the legal underpinnings of these techniques were all about, and finally, what these techniques meant in terms of effectiveness." The committee held 2 subsequent business meetings to coincide and debate the terms of the committee's proposed expanded review of the CIA's Detention and Interrogation Program. The first, on February 24, 2009, began with bipartisan support for a draft terms of relevance. The committee met again on March 5, 2009, to consider a revised terms of reference, which was approved by a vote of 14-1. On December 13, 2012, after a review of more than 6 million pages of records, the committee approved a 6,300-page study of the CIA Detention and Interrogation Program. On April 3, 2014, by a bipartisan vote of 11-3, the committee agreed to send the revised findings and conclusions and an updated executive summary of the committee study to the President for declassification and public release. Later on, during interviews, Gina Haspel had this to say about eliminating the videotapes.
There's been much debate and much news coverage about Jose Rodriguez, the former director of the National Clandestine Service, and his decision to direct the destruction of the detainee interrogation videotapes. Can you describe for members your role in those events?
Senator, yes, I can. In 2005, I believe it was fall of 2005, I was Chief of Staff to the Deputy Director for Operations, that is head of the clandestine service. The tape issue had lingered at CIA for a period of about 3 years. I believe the tapes were made in 2002, and over time there was a great deal of concern about the security risk posed to CIA officers who were depicted on the tapes. Those security issues centered on the threat from Al-Qaeda should those tapes be irresponsibly leaked. Mr. Rodriguez, who was the DDO at the time, the Deputy Director for Operations, has been very upfront and has made it clear on a number of occasions publicly that he and he alone made the decision to destroy the tapes. I would also make it clear that I did not appear on the tapes, as has been mischaracterized in the press. There were 3 investigations, 3 looks at the tapes, inquiries that I know about. One was undertaken by HIPSI, the House Oversight Committee. I never saw a report on that, but the chairman at the time said that he found no fault with my actions. There was a Department of Justice investigation that was closed without charges after, I think, more than 2 years. And then there was an internal investigation of the issue conducted by one of my predecessors, Mr. Morrell, who found no fault with my actions and that my decisions were consistent with my obligations as an agency officer.
Were you an advocate for destroying the tapes?
Senator, I absolutely was an advocate if we could within and conforming to U.S. law, and if we could get policy concurrence to eliminate the security risk posed to our officers by those tapes, and the consistent legal
advice. Aware of what those tapes contained?
No, I never watched the tapes,
No,
but I understood that our officers' faces were on them and that was very dangerous at a time when there were unauthorized disclosures that were exposing the program.